Okay, I wanted to come on today to show a little thing here. There's this little iguana that I've made out of one scrap I had left of African mahogany, and here's the other scrap. There's a little thing I'm going to show here where I have sawn out these blanks before that are to be carved into little St. Nicholas figures like the ones you saw me carve out of walnut, and from the shapes, little scraps I had come out after cutting those out, I had different shaped scraps come out in different ways just from sawing the blanks and the pieces of wood. And of course, as you know, even the ones that I made the little gerbils out of that you watched me carve, those were some scraps that were left over from cutting that out, and I can tell by the shapes what they're from. And that is kind of like where, these little scraps here that I'm making into these iguanas come from. And there's a little thing I want to mention to you here is when it first came out, just the carved part, it didn't come out to look much like an iguana, but I kind of made it come a little closer. I looked at one on the internet and saw that I had to kind of burn in the spikes at the top, not just give it a point on the head like the scrap came out with. So, and I will say, since I've only done this project once, and since this is only my second time doing it, it might be kind of a struggle to do it in front of camera and demonstrate it, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it my best. So I'm going to kind of demonstrate a little how I do this sort of thing. And you can see I've already kind of cut out the line in the front, and this is the place here where we cut out the lines to make the front legs, and that is where it's going to come along. And we're also going to carve these lines back here to make the back legs. I'm going to put a little work into that right now, see what it's going to do. And I say that it's going to come out as a little work here, but things like this, I don't know how long this video is going to take, how long it's going to take me to carve this, but I know that there's a lot of detail in this, and sometimes we just have to wait and see how long the video is going to last. We never know, because even a little project, it might take a while, but at least you can finish it in one day, and if you can finish it in one day, that kind of makes it good. So I'd say we're going to work along this. And I wanted to mention how many questions I get asked. Probably did this step a little too early, kind of carving on the back leg here, but we're going to take care of that on the other side as well and make it so it comes out pretty good. And so I say that this is just a little work in our hands, but we're going to manage it. We're going to do it. Oh, I say, little times in our lives, little work we do. And, of course, there's been things going on in my workplace this week. It gets kind of rough because our dish machine hasn't been working, so we've had many more dishes to wash in the downstairs machine, which takes a little longer, so we dealt with that. And I'd like to mention that we've come about this far, a long way, making it so the legs stick out in the back. There's something here where we sort of carve here to make what is the front legs. And while I'm doing that, I'll tell you all little stories about how, sometimes critics kind of give me ideas that help me try to make my work turn out to be a little bit more to look like what it's supposed to be. A lot of people think my stuffed monkeys are cats. They look like them to them. People have thought that my bears in the polar bear yoga pose were cats. That's what they look like to them. And then some people see my little carvings that are literally supposed to be cats and think they are squirrels. So it's just kind of hard to get things right to what they're supposed to be, make it be the same thing to everybody's point of view. So sometimes you have to work a little more to make something look like what it's supposed to be, like I did to make the spikes here. I will say I kind of work here, carved along the front legs. We got to make a little bit of a engravement here just to kind of separate the two front legs from each other. Oh, a little work comes along, makes its way to us. Oh, I tell y'all, people, we gotta work in what we do and make things turn out just the way they are supposed to be. Oh, the work and the joy of it, making us all see a little light in us, make us all come down to what we're supposed to know and be. And oh, this work is joyful, I say. And it gets rewarding just to get out at your shows, get your work talked about, you know, get people to say a lot of nice things, even if you don't sell much. But I've been selling more since I've had my Venmo code out, and even updated my PayPal and my Cash App and my Zelle to my business email so that I don't have to share my personal email. So that's just what's worked out well along those lines, I'd tell you. And I've been getting a lot of shares to my posts because more people have been commenting on them and liking them. Now we kind of got the front legs carved out here. There's a place up here where we're going to sort of carve out the nose here, and I'd say that things aren't turning out like for where the mouth is and stuff as to exactly where my lines need to be, but we're kind of getting along on this. This will come along better the further we work. And I'd say that it's probably not coming out quite as great this time around as it did the last time around. Could very well be because I'm trying to do it on camera and do it with an audience, but we kind of look at this other one, we see how we got the nose in the right place, and kind of got to get the nose in the right place on this one as well. And oh, I say, a lot of work comes into what we do here. Oh, the light of the world is shining in us, brightening in us. Oh, making us happy people as we are. And at least we've got several little knives here. If one dulls, another one is sharp, and we can kind of switch them around a little bit. Some of these are a little too new and a little too thin, but I think I picked one out here that's just right. And kind of working into it just to try to make it what it ought to be. And see, I say that, oh, the work shall do itself in. And we're coming along here, making the work turn out like it's supposed to be. There's going to come a time later we're going to draw in the lines for the nose and draw in the lines for the mouth, but there's a place where when it gets done it looks like it has a big horn on the top of the head. We'll kind of take care of that later. do want to mention of all the dogs I've carved out of all the different patterns and different breeds. One lady was looking at some of my dogs yesterday. She asked me if I had a dachshund. So I pointed to the dachshund among my work, and she told me it doesn't look like a dachshund. And who knows, I mean, it could just be because it's a flat plane style one. Some of my little creatures are a little more flat plane styled than others. Kind of get the ideals off of how I carve my flat plane nativity figures. And that's how it is with some of the animals in that set. You know, they're all kind of a different work, a different type. It's hard for people to notice easily. I'd say we're getting around. We've narrowed down the face a little bit here, made it so it needs to be. I think at this point we're going to try to work along the tail. And as for this piece, and again, you should never saw with the knife. I do that all too often. It just becomes a habit for me. Probably ought to know better by now because I've been carving for a long time, and when I first started, a lot of the people who helped me start out always told me, you know, if you're sawing with the knife, you're doing it all wrong. It's the kind of thing that just might dull the blade, you know. And I carve pretty fast sometimes, so that kind of gets to be a little issue itself too sometimes. And as you can see, I'm kind of getting these chips everywhere. Ought to be just carving down in the pan and not holding it up too close, because that's kind of what makes the chips fly everywhere when you're not careful enough. So I come by, make this little print here, and there were so many questions I was asked yesterday when I was at Forks Fall Fair, and showed people things made out of Kentucky coffee tree. Tell a little story about that later. But here I'd say we've come along to where, oops, I dropped it. We finally got the tail made out. Now it's time to go to the top of the head. And in carving the last one, I learned a thing or two about how you really want to get the horn on the top very thin, because that is where you want to burn in the lines to make the little spikes on the head. So that is the work that's going to be done along there. And we kind of got to round it off at the front. When you got kind of go down the face, go down the nose, I say this little work of mine is just a bright shining light in the dim sun. I say that like we've said, you know, it's all been about pet shop animals lately, and sometime I'll get a chance to show you all those hedgehogs. When I get them out of the oil, they'll be coming out of the oil sometime later this week. They went in sometime right about the middle of last week, so they've got a few days to soak yet, and we're going to take them out. Had a friend who said that her friend just recently had a pet hedgehog pass away, so she wanted to buy a hedgehog from me as a gift for her friend who lost one. And that would be a wonderful story to hear, you know, because a little work like that can surely take a little things just such a longer way. I brought some coffee with me but didn't bring any water this time, but I'd say we're kind of working our way along this, and there's a little shot of work to come this way. I say that we've kind of got to work along this and make the little stripes come out, because for this little lizard's tail, it's going to make its way to us, make its way brighter to us, make it come a long, long way, and it's going to be a bright little light to shine on us, make us all good and happy, kind people. I say that this is just the work we put into things, make things the best they can be, make things the way they should be. And I say, little light cometh and goeth. I say, it's all just a good little sign and make us all happy as we can be. I say that we're making a little spike on its head, make it just a happy little iguana piece. And finally, we're going to take the stripes and make it go out the way it needs to be. Finally, we're going to cut things down here, try to make it about as thin at the top as we did this other one. So we're going to make it look better when it comes out like it should be. I say that it's going to be better when it all comes down to the right things. And I think we've probably gotten it as good as it needs to be here. There are certain lines we draw. I'd say on this one, maybe the nose came out a little higher than on this one. We might kind of trim it down a little bit, make it a little smaller so that it kind of goes down to the chin a little more. And I say, bright little shining work, make us all be good, happy people and stuff. And whoa, 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 oh, the shining light, bright shining light, oh, the work of the glory of the hand. It works itself, and woe I say, woe I say. And now we've kind of gotten it to where it's about to be the right size. We kind of got other little lines to draw here, but I'd say that to make it equal, we're going to try to draw a line from the middle of this one to this eye here, and try to line them up so we can, and try to make it so just like we have here, the line of the eye is perpendicular to the spike at the top. So we need to draw a line there, draw a line more to the front to kind of take it around the front, and put an eye in a quite similar little spot here to make it so it's better and all. And what we know is we've kind of come out with something here, and there's a place where we'll kind of narrow the nose down a little bit later, or actually we'll do it right now. And then there comes a place where you sort of have to make lines that connect to the top here, and we got a little line we're about to draw here now. So we got that, and now it's time to draw the line from about here on the forehead to the end of the tail where the spikes meet. And that is something that we're kind of trying to make the work look like it's really being done. So by about now, we're kind of getting down to where we can trim the chin right below the feet. And as for the mouth is actually going to be done with the wood burner, and the nostrils and the eyes. So we've already drawn in the lines for the eyes, so now it's time to draw in the little lines for the nostrils where they need to be. And so that's how we come up with the little lizard here. And by now, I'd say it is time for us to go over to the wood burner and do a little more work. Now you can probably see we've got some work here, some of which is done with the wood burner, some of which is with the rotary tool, but you can see how I've already used the rotary tool to make the eyes on this one, and so I'm going to use it to make the eyes on this one as well. And you see, I've already kind of added little eyes here. There's going to come a point here where we're going to turn this on and we're going to make little burning parts for the little nostrils as well. And we got to turn this heat up here a little bit to make it so the pen burns. And you see where those little nostril holes are? That is where we are going to put the writing tip pen. Make the little iguana nostrils just like that. I say, oh, a little work coming along. And also, I'd say we probably got this a little crooked here at the top, but I'd say we'll go get the knives and take care of that now. So finally, I say, you can see how the top of the head of the horn is a little crooked. We do need to straighten that out a little bit, try to make it look a little bit more realistic-like. So I'd say that probably causes it to lose its sharpness at the top, so we can fix that by making another cut here to give it a better point. So we're going to sort of take the skew tip of the burner and make it so we go here to the front where the line is. We're going to burn the line down the rest of the way, and see, this is how it goes. And for the rest of the line we've drawn to separate the spikes from the body, we're going to go down a little further, kind of make it so it lines up so much better. I say, kind of make it so we got a little work in here to do. And finally, we got the line on both sides here. And now it is time to burn in the spikes. We want to start out with the one at the top point of the head. We make that little line right here with the wood burner. We're going to kind of take it to the other side as well. Burn some stripes in over here. And so we got that. We got little lines to make sort of like the backs of the head. And so we got the lines here just like that. We're going to kind of take a few more, make a couple more little spikes going down the back of the iguana. And so as we speak, we've got some more to take. And you want to go down both sides of the creature here. It might be a little hard to do it on video since this is only my second time doing the work, but here's how it should look on each side. You can try to get them a little closer together if you need to, but I do think that due to my experience level, we seem to be getting them a little too far apart here. So I've got that much work done into it, and kind of like make lines that go straight up to mark the little spikes on the tail. And now you see we finally got the little spikes on the head all burnt in. And there's one little place we need to have left to do. That is to make the little mouth down here. And come down to it. That's how we got it here. Got other little lines to make here. We're going to make them in. And I tell you, there was a little piece of error done on the last one, so we had to make up for that. And where you can see that these have already been sanded here, I'm going to kind of probably resand this one line on this one, but it is a good idea to sand them and try to get rid of the pencil marks as much as you can, and to try to make the burning of the detail a little more minimum. So I'd say we got the work coming along, and we're carving it along, and I'd say for all this work we do, we're going to make it all better, make it all come out right. And I say that for the little noses and stuff that they have, we use a little bit of a fine grit sandpaper, but sort of try to make sure it's good enough to get the pencil marks out. It's probably okay if just a little bit of facet still shows in this, but there's probably a little more to do after you sand. Probably try to turn the heat down a little lower. Use the skew tip to try to detail back in where some parts of the spikes have been sanded off. I'm sure that this second one probably needs a little bit more of that, but do think I'm going to add a little bit more of that to the first one as well. Try to make it a little better. And so, you know, there's nothing wrong with doing a little work like this, trying to make things better for you and for others. And I say that it probably comes down to being just like the iguana it's supposed to be, because like I said, sometimes if you really want to make things look like what they're supposed to be, you know, you sometimes do have to learn to kind of add a little more extra work to them. There were a few pencil marks left on this first one that I had to get rid of here, so we're going to take this back and we're going to put in these lines just fine. Bless the child, and Lord, I say that this is going to come out great. I say that a little lines to be put back in here, make it all come out a little better as it ought to be, and so it's gonna shine itself up to us. And I say little work comes on and makes it so we're gonna come out with the right kind of iguana here. And we already got the mouth into this one as well. Sometimes you can't make them look like a natural creature of their own kind, but sometimes, just sometimes, it's good enough just to kind of make it even look remotely like a pretend creature of that type. So as long as you can use the scraps and as long as you can do the work, it's all good. So that was what I wanted to demonstrate today, and I thank you all for coming on and watching. Goodbye.